chaos is about to break loose. The draft is on the verge of blowing up with a piece of news that could flip everything upside down for the Bears. An expert analyst just accidentally spilled the one way to land the most dominant running back in the last 25 years. Meanwhile, a brutal last-minute injury in New Orleans might have dropped a totally unexpected gift into Chicago's lap. And that's not even the craziest part. There's a secret plan in the works to trade up into the top 3 and grab the nation's most deadly quarterback hunter. The win now window is wide open. It's either now or never. If you're a real fan, you can't afford to miss these game-changing details. Smash that subscribe button and stay ahead of everybody else. What Todd McShay just did, was it a stroke of genius or straight up flipping the script? I'm telling you, what happened in this interview is a straight up game changer for the future of this franchise. The former ESPN analyst just dropped a draft nuke on our entire strategy, while trying to do the exact opposite. McShay, now writing for The Ringer, projected the Bears to select tight end Tyler Warren out of Penn State in his mock draft, lining right up with what Mel Kiper did over at ESPN. During his podcast, Warren asked, "Can you even imagine what Ben Johnson's going to cook up in his little lab for Warren?" During a hit with Lawrence Holmes and Matt Spiegel, McShay fell hard for the idea of our head coach Ben Johnson drawing up plays to unleash Warren against defenses. You've got a young quarterback who needs reliable options around him. McShay told WSCRM 670, "I think Warren could be a serious Swiss Army knife for Ben Johnson." He even echoed ESPN's Dan Orlovsky by saying the Bears should run, not walk to the podium if Warren is still on the board, comparing the dude's skills set to Gronk. His standout trait is that he moves like a big bruising fullback with the ball in his hands, McShay explained. But you know what? I think that's just smoke and mirrors. The real gold comes out when McShay shifts gears to talk about running backs, especially Ashton Jeanty. Want to know what's really happening? Here, McShay says running backs are raining from the sky this year, and there's no need to trade up for one. This is the deepest and most talented running back class I've scouted in the past 25 years, he claimed. Then he brought up how Johnson succeeded in Detroit with the David Montgomery-John McGibbs combo, hinting that the Bears shouldn't feel any pressure to move up. But here's the bomb. In the middle of explaining why the Bears should stick at pick number 10, McShay actually paints the kind of picture of Jeanty that does the complete opposite of what he was trying to argue. I haven't talked to a single NFL team that doesn't have him in their top 5, and almost every one of them said top 3 or top 4. McShay said about Jeanty Watt he just gave away. McShay just told everyone that Jeanty is viewed as a truly special player across the league. That's the exact draft range where the Bears found a certain special back in 1975. His name? Walter Payton. And we're supposed to just pass on that. I mean, come on, are we really going to ignore the next Walter Payton when we've got the tools to go get him? We're already locked in with speed in the backfield, thanks to D'Andre Swift. Wouldn't it make way more sense to trade up and grab the player the rest of the league clearly values through the roof, instead of settling for someone who's just pretty solid later in the draft? They've got 3 picks in the top 41, McShay reminded, saying the Bears should use those to bolster the roster. But look, that depth of picks angle can work both ways. They could give up one of those second rounders and a later pick to move up 5 or 6 spots and go get Jenny, the very guy McShay just told us is a league-wide gem. Hell, they could even throw in that 3rd rounder. Let's be real, GM Ryan Poles doesn't exactly have a great batting average there anyway. He's the dude who drafted Zach Pickens, Velus Jones Jr., and Kieran Amegadjie. Though to be fair, Amegadjie missed big chunks of preseason and training camp with an injury, so maybe there's still time for him. It's a real test for the Bears. Sitting at number 10, teetering right on the tipping point where the blue chip talent pool starts drying up. According to McShay, he might have been trying to make a case to just sit tight and pick smart, but in doing so, he accidentally let slip how highly Jeanty is regarded. And when you've got a shot at a special player, it makes zero sense to play defense. You make the move, period. And here comes a bombshell that'll shake up the whole draft board. You want to know why that number 10 pick could suddenly turn into straight gold? Let me tell you something that just rocked the entire draft landscape. The Chicago Bears hold the number 10 pick in the first round of the draft. Who the Bears can land at that spot depends heavily on how many quarterbacks get picked in the top 9. Elite talent like offensive tackle Will Campbell, defensive tackle Mason Graham, tight end Tyler Warren, and running back Ashton Jeanty are prime prospects for Chicago. But here's the catch. They could all be off the board unless enough teams up top get desperate for a quarterback. Teams like the Tennessee Titans, New York Giants, Cleveland Browns, and New York Jets have long been seen as needing a long-term answer under center. But with scouts far from impressed by this 2025 quarterback class, some of those teams might just go with a higher-graded player at another position. But then, a total bomb dropped this Friday afternoon. Something that flipped the whole script, according to NFL Network's Ian Rapoport. New Orleans Saints QB Derek Carr is exploring his options to deal with a shoulder injury options that include surgery. That could mean he misses the entire 2025 season. The Saints suddenly have a big question mark at QB. Starter Derek Carr is now dealing with a shoulder injury that could keep him out all season, sources say. Carr is weighing his options, including the possibility of surgery. Rapoport posted on X. The Saints hold the number 9 pick just one spot ahead of us. You realize what this means, right? This could end up being the biggest gift the Bears get out of this draft. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk speculated on why news about Carr's injury is surfacing less than 2 weeks before the draft. Florio thinks Carr's camp might be trying to spark a QB run, forcing teams to trade up ahead of the Saints. Either way, this makes it more likely the Saints go for quarterback Shedder Sanders at number 9, Florio wrote. That might spark any team picking after them to try and leapfrog. New Orleans. If you're wondering why this report got out 13 days before round 1, go back and read that last paragraph. Carr wouldn't have any reason to let Sanders get drafted to replace him unless the injury was serious. Now that the cat's out of the bag about the shoulder, there's a much bigger chance he's gone before the Saints can even turn in their draft card. The Bears, who don't need a quarterback after drafting Caleb Williams with the number 1 pick in 2024, now have an even better shot at snagging one of the top players in the draft at number 10 thanks to the Saints situation. A top 6 or 7 guy might actually fall right into their lap. But let me ask you this. What if instead of waiting to see who drops, we take control of our destiny? Because there's another insane scenario gaining real traction. With the 2025 NFL Draft just under 2 weeks away, teams are putting their final touches on their war rooms. The Chicago Bears, fresh off a strong free agency, are looking to keep the momentum going. And now there's growing buzz they could pull off a high-profile trade to move up the board. The Bears have retooled from top to bottom, starting with head coach Ben Johnson replacing Thomas Brown, who had stepped in for Matt Eberflus after his midseason firing in 2024. Caleb Williams recently opened up how rough things were under Eberflus. How Eberflus handled things during that game, I think, was something folks across the locker room were upset about, said Williams, referencing the Bears' crushing loss to the Washington Commanders in Week 7. Things are on the upswing in Chicago right now, and with a strong draft, that could keep rolling. In a recent mock draft by Athlon Sports' Luke Easterling, he predicts the Bears will trade up with the New York Giants for the number 3 overall pick to grab Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter. There aren't many obvious trade scenarios at the top of this draft, but if the Giants aren't sold on Sanders as their franchise QB, or think Carter doesn't make sense given they've got Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, the Bears could be the team that jumps. They've already covered their biggest needs in free agency and trades, so flipping both of their early second-rounders to the G-men and getting back a late third-rounder could be their move to land an elite pass rusher. Easterling wrote, Carter was a monster for Penn State in 2024, piling up 68 tackles, 24 for loss, 12 sacks, 4 pass deflections, and 2 forced fumbles. If the Bears want Carter, they'll have to make a move into the top 3 or 4, because there's no way he's falling past the New England Patriots at pick number 4. Now, imagine a pass rush with Carter lining up next to Montez Sweat. How many QBs you think are sleeping easy knowing they might have to face that duo? That's potentially the best defensive front in the NFC North, hell, maybe in the whole league. But here's the dilemma. Do we trade up to get Carter, the most lethal QB hunter in this entire draft? Do we trade up for Jeanty, possibly the best running back prospect in 25 years? Or do we hold tight at number 10 and hope Carr's injury causes top-tier talent to land in our hands? Here's my take. GM Ryan Poles is staring down the most important decision since drafting Caleb Williams. And with 3 picks in the top 41, he's got the ammo to make almost any move. We are in an enviable position, my friends. Window to win is now. With Ben Johnson at the helm, Caleb in year 2, and a shot to land one more transformative piece in this draft, the Bears could be setting up for a legit playoff run. And I'm not just talking about competing in the NFC. North, we could be building a dynasty right here in Chicago. So what do you think? Should we go after Carter and create a nightmare defense? Chase Jeanty and lock down the run game for years to come? Or trust that the board breaks our way at 10? No matter what, the Bears are in a prime spot. And with draft day almost here, we're about to find out which path this franchise takes. One thing's clear, the future in Chicago has never looked brighter. You seriously think Jeanty could be the next Walter Payton? Or is that just draft smoke? Drop your thoughts below. Would you rather see the Bears trade up for Abdul Carter and build a dominant defense? Or do you believe Carr's injury delivers? Use a draft miracle at number 10? I need to hear what you're thinking. Bears family, this is the biggest moment our franchise has seen in years. If you want exclusive takes and breaking news on every Bears move heading into the draft, don't sleep, subscribe now. Be part of this community that lives and breathes Chicago Bears football. Smash that like button, turn on notifications, and get ready for what could be the most exciting draft in recent Bears history. Catch y'all in the next video. And bear down!